All right. So I think everything is working now. And yeah. So hi guys, welcome to the session. And my name is Shaurya. And in today's session, we are going to be like doing the theory of games and tournaments. This is going to be a short session of around 20-30 minutes, wherein we will introduce concepts of some fundamental concepts of games and tournaments. We'll be doing a series of 4 sessions on games and tournaments on YouTube, which will essentially cover the entire aspect. All right. And the schedule for those sessions is that, I mean, the first one is today on Saturday, the next one is on Sunday. Sorry, not Sunday, sorry. Next one is on Monday. Then you will have one on either Tuesday or Wednesday. And then the next one will be on probably either Thursday or Friday. All right. The timing for all of these is going to be 5:30 p.m. 5 p.m. All right. The first one was a little late, but all of these are going to be 5 p.m. And you'll be notified earlier through our Telegram groups and everything. And even on the page, you will know when the session is going to start. Okay. So anyway, let's start off with the session. All right. And let's start off with what games and tournaments is actually about. This is an area which is very something which is very something in which people are very scared about, and they are pretty afraid of this chapter because they are not able to understand how to apply the concepts. Okay. And this is one of the few chapters in LR wherein you actually have concepts. So other chapters you don't have as much amount of concepts, but games and tournaments actually has a lot of things which you need to know. That's why sometimes I like to refer to this chapter as a DI chapter and not actually an LR chapter, because there's a lot of calculation involved, there's a lot of logical deductions which you need to come to. It's actually something, it should be in logical DI, but okay, LR ho DI doesn't really matter. What matters is we need to understand how to approach the chapter. Okay, so there are two kinds of tournaments essentially which happen. All right, or rather three kinds of tournaments on which this concept of the chapter is built. First is something known as a knockout tournament, and that is what we are going to be discussing today. The second is the round robin tournament, and the third is a mixture of knockout plus round robin. Okay, and fourth is one and two. And fourth is miscellaneous kind of tournaments wherein there is no set structure and the structure is actually kind of new. Okay. So let's start with just a little bit of theory about what a knockout tournament is and what a knockout round robin tournament is before we go deep into what these chapters are actually about, or these question types based on this is actually about. So when you hear the term knockout, uh, you need to understand knockout essentially means that if, let's say, four players are playing, let's say A, B, C, and D. These four players are there. They're playing a game of anything. Okay, they're playing a game of cricket, for example. And in that game, you have matchups of A versus B, and you have a matchup of C versus D. And then whoever wins amongst A and B advances to the next round, and whoever loses is eliminated. So point is, matchup happens between two individuals or two teams. It could be between three teams, four teams as well. But for the sake of simplicity, we are going to right now discuss about two teams and two individuals also, because mostly questions are based on that only. Sometimes you'll get a question which is based on three teams, four teams, etc. And if you get a question like that, they'll always explain the structure to you. So anyway, matchup happens between two individuals and two teams. You have like matchup in a particular round is between two individuals and two teams, and you have one winner who emerges amongst the two people, two players, two teams playing, and one loser. The winner advances to the next round, and the loser is eliminated. Sometimes you have different kind of uh, rules wherein loser is not eliminated when they lose the first match. They are eliminated when they lose two matches or three matches. But again, for simplicity's sake, to uh, just to explain things in an easy manner, just to get you updated with the theory, we are going to look at simple things right now, and slowly we go to when we go to our second session, third session, fourth session, we will be looking at tougher like types of questions and tougher types of concepts as well. So anyway, so this is what the knockout is about, and I'll come to knockouts in detail. Before we move to detailed about knockouts, let's just quickly discuss what a round robin kind of format is. Let's say again you have four players A, B, C, and D. In a round robin, what will happen is A will play against B once, then he will play against C once, and then he will play against D once. Okay. Similarly, B will also play against A once, then he will play against C once, and he will play against D once. Similarly, C will also play against A once, B once, and D once. So, like essentially, what happens is when A is playing, A will play first with maybe B, then he plays with C, then he plays with D. Then you look at B, he's already played with A, right? So he plays with C and he plays with D. And then you look at C. I mean, if you want to count how many matches and how many kind of matches, etc., going to happen, you count it like this: that A plays. Wait, my camera I think is in the way. Wait, I will write it here. So A plays with B, C, and D. Then B plays with C and D, because you've already counted B playing with A, right? Then you have C playing with D. A question based on similar logic of knockout and round robin came in CAT 2024 slot 1 as well. So this is a very important chapter which you should know about. Okay. Anyway, so this is essentially what round robin is about, that everybody plays each against each other once. Then you have to decide who are the people who are topping the groups, etc. There are multiple groups and all. I don't want to get into too much detail right now because that will be too much information for this class, right? This is going to be a short session about knockouts. And of course, I just wanted to give you an introduction. So that is why I just thought I'll just give you a brief. Now, anyway, coming back. So let's just quickly get to what a knockout tournament is about. So knockout is also called as an elimination tournament. Loser is immediately eliminated. So if you have, as I said, I took an example of four players. So A, B, C, and D. Let's say A is playing against D and B is playing against C. Okay, this is the first round which is happening. So whoever wins will advance to the next round. Okay, let's say A wins here and let's say C wins here. Okay, so A will advance to the next round and he will play against the winner of the second match. The winner of the second match we have taken as person C. So he will play against C, and that is essentially what knockout is about. Okay. So then you have the second round, and in our example, we have only two players who are left in the second example, the second round. So one amongst this, whoever wins, he is going to be the winner. I'm assuming A is going to win. So A is going to be the winner of the entire tournament, because we are taking an elimination tournament wherein somebody, when they lose once, they are eliminated. Okay. And whoever wins, they progress to the next round. Right. This is essentially the basic concept of this chapter of games and tournaments. Sorry, of knockouts. Now, let's come to a little bit of key formulas and concepts of this question type. So, I'm going to take eight players A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Okay, these are eight players who we are considering. Okay, and these are the matchups which I'm considering. A is against H, B is against G. Please understand these are hypothetical examples just to explain to you what happens in a tournament. Okay, and how, the theory. Okay, let's say this is round one. Okay, these are the matchups which came about. That A is going to play against H, B is going to play against G, C is going to play against F, and D is going to play against E. Now we have to decide one person who's going to win. Let's say A wins here, G wins here, C wins here, and D wins here. Okay. Now I also have this known to me that the person, so in round two, the person who wins match one, he will play against person who wins match four. So this is match four, this is match three, this is match two, and this is match one. So match one of round two is going to be against person who wins like the first match, whoever wins again, and the person who wins the first match, that guy, versus the guy who wins the fourth match. So in our example, we are going to have A, he is going to play with E because A won the first match and E won the fourth match. Similarly, match two. So this is done through seeding, etc. But we are not going to discuss seeding right now. It will be again a lot of theory for this session. So we're not going to do seeding right now. We'll be doing those things in the next session. So match two, like how the matchups are decided, that's done through seeding. Please just ignore that. Just understand the core theory at the moment. Match two is going to be against person who won match two versus person who won match three. So person who won match two is going to be G versus person who won match three, which is going to be C. Okay. Now let's take two winners in this scenario also. So say for example, E is going to win against A and G is going to win uh, against C. So then the third round comes up, and in the third round, since there are only two winners, okay, you understand there are only two winners, right? So you will have only one match against in the third round. Why will you have only one match? Because you have two players who are emerging as winners and two players who are losing, right? And since this is a knockout tournament, a elimination tournament, wherein if somebody wins, they move to the next round. If somebody loses, they cannot move to the next round. They are eliminated. Okay, they will not have any matches further. So that's why since E is winning, he is going to play against G. All right, and let's say G wins against E. So then we understand that G is the winner of the tournament. This is the fundamental theory of how a structure of a uh, like knockout tournament happens. Does anybody have any questions on this part? People who are, especially people who are attending live, do you guys have anything you want to ask related to this? Okay, and of course, people who are also not attending live, anybody who will be watching the recording, if you have any questions later on also, you guys can put it in the comments at any point of time, and I will be taking them up further. Okay, in the in my next session, or maybe in in the comment, I'll answer your query. Okay, so I'm assuming that since I'm not getting any responses on the chat. I am assuming that you guys have understood this part. So, uh, so how G will win? That is not like that does not matter. Okay, I've just taken an assumption that firstly, A won in the first round in this in the first match A won, in the second match G won, in the third match C won, and in the fourth match E won. Then in the second round, E won against A and G won against C, and then in the third round, G won against E, and hence this is the like G, since G won against E, that is my assumption. That's why G is the winner. That is just uh this is just what this is just what is happening. Okay. So anyway, let me come to what what I want to discuss from here. That is number of matches. That is the first formula which I want to talk about. So look at the matches. There are 8 people, you know that. So how many matches are happening? Match 1, match 2, match 3, match 4, match 5, match 6, and match 7. So there are 7 matches which are happening in total. So if there are 7 matches which are happening amongst 8 players, what does it say? It basically matches with the formula which is written here. That the number of matches which are going to happen in a tournament, that is going to be number of players minus 1. Yeah, these are all assumptions, Jackie, Sai Kumar. Okay, that is these are all assumptions. Okay, this is just assumptions to explain the theory to you. Okay, this is not an actual question. So this is a formula that number of matches is equal to number of players minus 1. Let's try to test this formula in different scenarios. Let's say I have 2 players, A and B. Only 2 players. So A will play against B, and let's say B wins. So B is the winner. How many matches happened when we had 2 players? We had 1 match. Similarly, let's say I have a different scenario, and right now I'm going to take even like players only. Okay, we'll come to odd players also and what happens. So let's say I take 4 players. Let's say I have A, B, C, and D, and I have A versus B as my one of the matches, C versus D as my other match. Let's say B is winning here and D is winning here. So first round, this is what is happening. The second round is basically who is playing against who in a particular time. Okay. So once, like in each round, everybody has to play 1 match. That is the concept of a round. Okay. So if there are 4 players, there everybody needs it is unless it is stated, everybody has to play a match. Okay. So that is what a round is basically. Okay. It tells you that like in that round, everybody played 1 match. So who is playing against who? That is what is given by the round. So B won against A and D won against B. So B versus D, sorry, D won against C. So B versus D, and let's assume that B won the tournament. Okay, let's say B won this match. So B won the tournament. How many matches happened? 1 match, 2 match, and 3 matches. In 4 players, you had 3 matches. Let's say I take 6 players. Now this will be a interesting scenario. What will happen right here? Okay, so let's say you have A, B, C, D, and E and F. I'm just assuming Pranjal that people are who is winning. It is just an assumption. It can be that E also wins. It can be that B also wins. Anybody can win. It is just an assumption. So if we have 6 players, let's say I had 2 more players here, right? So A versus B, C versus D, and E versus F. Now I have, let's say, E winning here. So what you realize that there are 3 people who are moving to the next round. One guy is B, one guy is D, and one guy is E. These three people are moving to the next round. And a matchup, unless otherwise stated, is always going to be against two players or two teams. So how can you have three players playing in a match or playing in a round? You can't unless you have some clue which tells you that you know they are going to play against each other, blah blah blah. Unless it is told to you that, if it is not told to you that three all three players are going to play against each other, then in a knockout tournament you cannot make three players play one match each in a round, because E does not have anybody to play. Okay, if you end up taking B as the person E plays with, then the problem is that he's already played one match. So he'll end up playing two matches. And that is not the concept of a knockout tournament. Knockout tournament concept is that in any of the rounds, one person will play only one match. Okay, so B is playing two matches. If you end up taking D here, again D is also playing two matches. So this is something which is not possible, right? This is not possible. So that's why we introduced a concept which is known as a buy. What a buy says is that if you have odd number of players, okay, odd number of players which are there, or if you have number of players which isn't a power of two. So let me come back. If you look at two players, A, B, you can have one match, A versus B. One person can win, either of them can win the tournament. No buy is required. If you have four players, you will have each will have one person to play with. Let's say A versus B and C versus D. One guy will win from here, one guy will win from here. They will play against each other. Let's say you have eight players, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. E versus F, G versus H. You will have one person playing one person, and each person will get one match in each of the rounds as long as they are winning. So let's say F wins here and G wins here. So they will have somebody to play against. But instead of two, if you had three players in total, if you had A, B, and C, so you could have either one match you had A or versus B, or you had a match A versus C. Okay. And based on that, you have to find a winner. So one person is somebody who does not have a partner to play with, right? So in that situation, whenever you're given a situation like this, you have to introduce something which is known as a buy. Buy is that you are giving a, a person a free win to the next round. That is what the concept of a buy is. So let's say the tournament organizer said that A, B, C are playing, okay, a tournament, and since there is going to be only one match in the first round, hence to accommodate all the three people, you are going to give a buy to person C. So what happens to C is that C does not have anybody to play with in the first round. So C will get a direct entry to the next round. So the next round, whoever wins against A and B, let's say I am saying that A wins the match. So then C is already waiting for that person, and A is going to play against C because I am assuming that A is winning the match in the first round. Similarly, if you take five people, A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, these five people. So you can have a matchup A versus B. You can have a matchup C versus D, and then you will have E who is left for a matchup, right? It could be instead of this, it could be C versus E also, and D is left for a matchup. Could be anything. Okay, I'm just assuming a scenario. that C and D are playing, and E is left. So E is going to get a direct entry into the next round. And let's say it is told that the guy who got a bye in the first round, he's going to play the person who is winning match one. So let's say if I term this match one and match two, so whoever is winning against A and B, I am going to make E play against that guy. So E versus, let's say, and I am assuming again, let's say A is winning. So E versus A is going to happen. And then amongst C and D, let's say D wins. So D is left. And now D needs a bye to move to the next round because he does not have a partner to play with. So D will get a bye amongst A and E. Let's say E wins. So next round match is going to be D versus E. Okay. So this is the concept of a buy. And trust me, these concepts will be better understood when we start discussing questions. Okay. And we'll be coming to questions in the next session. Okay. But please just try to note down these concepts of number of matches, concepts of number of, what is a buy. Okay. Try to understand what a buy is. Concept of number of rounds. I'm just going to come to this also. How many rounds are going to be there in a match? Because these concepts, I will be revisiting these concepts also in the next session, all right, which I'll be taking. And otherwise also, these concepts we will be revisiting before moving further to the uh, to the uh, to the questions which we'll be discussing. Okay, so I hope the concept of buy is clear to you guys, so that I can move to the concept of number of rounds. Is the concept of buy clear? So point number two, it says how many buys you give. Okay, how many buys you give out. This is something we are going to come to later. Okay, this is something which I want to discuss in my next class. Okay, because this will take some time to explain, and I want to keep these sessions short of 30 minutes each. So is the concept of buy clear? Buy is basically when you have when you don't have some, like when you have number as number of players wherein you don't have enough players to play against each other. Then you give out buys so that you can accommodate everybody and everybody gets a match to play against each other. Okay, so buys only occur when the number of players aren't in a power of two. So for example, if you have two players, you will never have a buy. If you have four players, you will never have a buy. If you have eight players, you will never have a buy. If you have 16 players, you will never have a buy. If you have 32 players, you will never have a buy. But if you have three players, you will have a buy. If you have five players, you will have three buys. If you have seven players, eight, nine players, or even six players, for example, seven players, right? You will have buys. Okay, because you will not have enough players for everybody to play against someone in each of the rounds. So maybe round one you will have enough players, but round two you will not have enough players, like we saw in some examples. Okay, so this is the concept of a buy. Now I'm quickly going to come to a concept of rounds before wrapping up the class, and we'll be revisiting this again, as I said, uh, before like in the next class before moving to problem solving. So concept of rounds. If you have two players, you only have A versus B playing, and one of these guys are going to win. All right. So let's say A wins. So A won the tournament. You had only one round which happened. If you have four players, then you have A versus B and and C versus D. This is what is happening in the first round. That everybody is getting a match to play and everybody is playing only one match. Then if A wins and D wins, so in the next round, you're going to have A playing against D. and one of these guys are going to win, hence winning the tournament. So 2 is nothing but 2 raised to the power of 1. 4 is nothing but 2 raised to the power of 2. So if you have two players, you will always have one round only in a knockout tournament. If you have four players, you will always have two rounds in a knockout tournament. There is never going to be a scenario wherein you will have three rounds if you have four players in a tournament, unless it is a round robin tournament or something else. As long as it is a knockout, you're only going to have two players, two rounds. What about three players? We just took an example: A, B, and C. A versus B. C gets a bye, moves to the next round. Let's say B wins here. B versus C. Let's say B wins the tournament. So B is the winner. How many rounds happened? One and two. So this tries to tell us is that if you have number of players between 2 and 4, if the number of players are between like greater than 2, let's say number of players is P. So if your number of players is greater than 2 but less than or equal to 4. So essentially, if it is 3 or 4 players, you will always have number of rounds as 2 rounds. Similarly, if you have 8 players, 8 is nothing but 2 raised to 3. 2 raised to 3 means 2 into 2 into 2. So if you have 8 players, you are always going to have the number of rounds as 3. This is a formula. All right. 8 players, you can take an example: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. These 8 players. A plays with B, C plays with D, E plays with F, and G plays with H. Next, let's say all these 4 guys are winning. So B plays with D, sorry, this is F. F plays with H. Let's say D and H win. So then D plays with H. Let's say D wins. So D wins the tournament. How many rounds happened? Round 1. Yes, power equals round. Correct side. Round 2 and round 3. So 3 rounds happened. Now, if you have the number of players as 5 instead of 8, say for example A, B, C, D, and E. So A plays with B, C plays with D, and E gets a bye. Next, let's say B and D win, and say for example B plays with D, and E again gets a bye. Okay, I'm just assuming that E is getting a bye again. Okay, it could have been that B plays with E also, or D plays with E. Then let's say D wins here, so D plays with E. Let's say D wins here, so D wins the tournament. Again, there are 1, 2, 3 rounds. So essentially, between two powers, if your number of players are between two powers of 2, for example, if your number of players are between 5 to 8, number of players, your number of rounds are always going to be the higher, like the highest power wale values. So in this case, 2 raised to 3 is equal to 8. So between, like when your number of players is greater than 4, but less than equal to 8, then you will always have number of rounds as 3. Okay. Same logic applies further also. if you have 16, okay, between 16 less than equal to players less than 8. So if the number of players are greater than 8 until 16, your number of rounds will always be 4 because 2 raised to 4 is equal to 16. Okay. So these are some concepts we are of knockout tournaments. Okay, this is the basic first part of what needs to be learned in games and tournaments. Okay, as I said, we are going to have around 4 sessions on YouTube, which will explain this entire concept and some questions also to you. Right. So hopefully you guys are able to understand the concept of rounds, players, knockout tournaments, etc. In the next session, we will be using these concepts to then try to solve questions and try to further understand these concepts through questions that how does it actually apply, right? So hopefully you guys enjoyed, right? And in case you guys have any doubts, let me know. Please take it up. Please put it in the comment section of this video, and we will be then taking these doubts in the next class and then proceeding further to the questions. Please understand that before we start solving questions, please do complete the do revise whatever we've done till today. Okay, just go through the question session again. Just make your notes because it's important. Okay, understanding how to find the number of buys. This we will talk about in the next session, finding number of buys, but number of rounds and number of matches. This concept you should be clear with by the next session, so that we can move further to uh, understanding how to actually apply these concepts in knockout matches. All right, ठीक है, चलो. So great having you guys around, and thank you so much for joining in. I'll be wrapping up the session now and see you guys on Monday, 5:30, 5 o'clock in the evening. If anybody can't attend, you guys can watch the recording also. See you at 5 on Monday, and wherein we'll be taking things further. Thank you so much, and good night.